9 News with Lizzie Pearl.
Good morning. An historic day in Canberra. After 9 years in opposition, the Labor government is overseeing a new look parliament. Let's go straight to politics reporter Eliza Edwards in Canberra. Eliza, plenty of fresh faces.
Yeah, Lizzie, it's the first sitting day since the election, so a big moment for the new MPs and senators who are being sworn in, and also for the Labor Party sitting on the government benches after almost a decade in opposition. The entirety of today is basically dedicated to the tradition and ceremony for the opening of the 47th Parliament. Started with a moment's reflection at church this morning, and then there was a smoking ceremony, and then politicians took their seats in the chambers. The moment certainly not lost on the Prime Minister. He was pretty emotional as he spoke about his intention to enshrine an Indigenous voice to Parliament in the Constitution.
So I say to everyone here, all of my parliamentary colleagues, don't miss the chance, because you're not here for that long. None of us will be. And when you're sitting on the porch thinking about what you did, you can either have a source of pride or a source of regret. No middle path. No middle path. Make it a source of pride.
The government has a packed agenda for this first week, Lizzie. One of its priorities will be introducing climate change legislation tomorrow. That would lock in a 43% emissions reduction target into law. But in the Senate, they'll need to get the Greens on board, and the minor party is using its bargaining power to push the government to be more ambitious. The Energy Minister says he's made a few minor tweaks to the bill, but made it clear the substance itself won't be changing.
We won't be moving away from any element of that mandate. Very, very clear. We've also made it clear that we are happy to receive suggestions of constructive nature from people of goodwill across the Parliament who are willing and able to work with the government, and we've done that.
Lizzie, the opposition isn't coming to the table at all on the climate change bill. They won't be backing it, and it's a position not everyone in the Liberal Party is happy about.
Eliza Edwards there for us in Canberra. Sydney's Manly Sea Eagles are in damage control today after the club's launch of a new Rainbow Pride jersey backfired, with several players expected to boycott the game because of religious beliefs. Zach Bailey is at the team's training base for us this morning. Zach, what is the latest?
Good morning, Lizzie. Yes, up to 7 players are expected to stand down from Thursday night's crucial clash against the Roosters, refusing to wear the club's everyone in league jersey. Now, Sea Eagles players arrived here at Four Pines Park earlier this morning and have just held a light training run, preparing to play this crucial match without some key players. Manly are the first club in the NRL to launch a Pride jersey. They're also the first club in the game to have a player come out as gay publicly back in 1995, and that player was Ian Roberts.
Ian Roberts is a friend of mine. He showed incredible courage. He wasn't the first gay man to play rugby league. I'll give you the big tip. It's important that in Australian society we respect everyone for who they are.
While some players are refusing to wear this jersey, it appears Manly fans absolutely love it. The men's and women's edition of the rainbow jersey selling out online in a matter of hours. Lizzie, will find out just how Manly found themselves in this embarrassing predicament when coach Des Hasler and captain Daly Cherry Evans front the media at 12 p.m. Viewers will see that live right here on 9.
They will. Thank you, Zach. 40 Victorians have died with COVID in the last 24 hours as infections continue to surge. Meanwhile, the state government's $700 million investment in the Better at Home initiative is paying dividends, taking pressure off the system. Almost 56,000 patients have received medical care at home since the initiative launched, with St Vincent's program tripling in size in the last 12 months. An 8-year-old boy has escaped a ferocious fire which tore through a home south of Brisbane. Meg Sides with the details.
Fire investigators have returned to the scene today as they work to determine exactly what ignited this blaze, but it was an incredibly lucky escape for an 8-year-old boy who was asleep inside after coming home sick from school. The man looking after him had ducked out to go to the pharmacy up the road and was driving home when he saw the smoke. By the time he arrived at the house, the boy had already fled and was being taken care of by neighbours.
He was feeling a little bit under the weather, so he was just relaxing in bed, and so I figured this is my time to take 5 minutes and go and run a quick errand. just come back to no home. Very brave young man. He knew exactly what to do, and he got himself out of there.
Crews were called to the scene yesterday afternoon, attacking the inferno from every angle, but there was only so much they could do. The roof caved in, the house completely gutted, the only belongings spared, bikes and toys scattered in the backyard. The 8-year-old boy was taken to hospital for mild smoke inhalation and was released late last night. His family say he is today in good spirits.
Ground crews at Australian airports could soon walk off the job, with baggage handlers in Melbourne, Sydney and Brisbane pushing for industrial action. More from Christina Hearn.
Baggage handlers with the Emirates-owned Donata will apply to the Fair Work Commission today for a vote on strike action over what they claim is an unfair new workplace agreement. If this strike action goes ahead, it could affect thousands of travellers, with up to 20 airlines affected, including Qantas, Singapore Airlines, Etihad and Air Canada. It's the last news travellers need, already frustrated with delays at check-in and baggage. Reaction from passengers this morning about possible industrial action was mixed, but most did come prepared, packing extra in their carry-on.
A lot more caution, yeah, because I normally don't take clothes with me.
If they get a chance to get something out of it, why not?
It is sort of moving slowly, but it feels like it's getting somewhere. It's a shame to see not a whole lot of the kiosk things open, but these things have been locked out. I think I've seen a couple of people try to use them.
It comes as new figures rank Australian airports amongst the worst in the world for delays and cancellations. Out of 665 airports ranked for their on-time performance, Melbourne came in at 631 and Sydney 597.
Parcels arriving from Indonesia and China will now be screened for foot and mouth livestock disease as the government moves to ramp up biosecurity measures. State-run zoos in Victoria have also restricted visitor access to the giraffes, kangaroos and elephants out of what they say is an abundance of caution. Meantime, international airports are installing sanitising shoe mats for passengers arriving from Indonesia. The final two candidates to replace Boris Johnson as the next UK Prime Minister have gone head-to-head this morning in a televised debate. After a week of increasingly personal attacks, Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss covered economic policy, China and even earrings during an hour of testy exchanges. Party members will start receiving ballot papers next week and a new leader will be named in September. Victims left shaken after reports of a home being shot at Corio near Geelong in Victoria's west. Ukraine bows out of hosting Eurovision next year. We'll tell you which country has stepped in. And David Attenborough gets a namesake, the oldest known relative of living animals. Victoria Police are investigating a shooting at a home near Geelong in Victoria, which the occupants have claimed they were victims of an ambush. Lana Murphy explains.
3 young men were sleeping inside this home around 2 o'clock this morning when they say they were ambushed by a group of strangers. A car parked in the driveway was destroyed first before the home's front windows were smashed in with bats.
About 4 guys kicking the back end of my brother's car in and smashing the windows.
Police responded, but once they left, the group returned, and the victims say this time they brought a gun.
The second we made eye contact with them, we just started letting off shots straight in the air. It was sort of like a game of cat and mouse, which was real weird. I wasn't sure what their intentions were at all.
Neighbours confirming they heard multiple shots fired into the air, the sound unmistakable.
We got on the ground and started crawling to the back of the house because we just didn't know what was going on. These guys were just out for blood and we had no idea what we did to deserve it.
The corner of Cloverdale Drive and Purnell Road here in Corio was turned into a crime scene, and as police responded, they say a separate vehicle tried to ram them. Police don't believe the attackers are known or linked to the victims. They're investigating whether they're connected to a group of teenagers that frequent the bus stop outside the home.
Hollywood is in mourning today following the death of Goodfellas actor Paul Sorvino, who passed away from natural causes last night. Father of Oscar-winning actress Mira Sorvino, the 83-year-old was best known for his roles as gangster Paulie Cicero in Goodfellas and as a detective in Law & Order.
Paulie did the prep work. He was doing a year for contempt, and he had this wonderful system for doing the garlic. He used a razor, and he used to slice it so thin that it used to liquefy in the pan with just a little oil. It's a very good system.
It comes on the same day as the death of veteran British actor David Warner, who has passed from a cancer-related illness at the age of 80. Warner is remembered for his roles in The Titanic, The Omen and Tron. Sport now, and the AFL is investigating Richmond coach Damien Hardwick amid accusations he verbally abused players during a VFL clash against Williamstown. Adam Hegarty reports.
Well, Tigers coach Damien Hardwick was saying very little this morning as he dodged the cameras walking into Richmond Footy Club as he cops more heat over the spray he gave a young VFL player at the weekend. That player in question, 21-year-old Darby Henderson, has been quoted this morning as saying it was surprising and bizarre. He also does say, though, that there's no hard feelings, while his father says someone like Hardwick in his privileged position should know better. To recap, it was Saturday afternoon. Young Darby Henderson, he was retaliating after being swung into the fence. He hit another player for Richmond in the back, gave away a free kick, and then some 5 minutes later, Hardwick, in attendance over the boundary line, has yelled out at him, calling him weak, with a couple of expletives thrown on the end. And while he denies this next bit, several sources at the game confirm and say he then said, "Come over here and I'll show you how tough you are." Now, the Richmond Footy Club is trying to pour cold water on this. They are no longer commenting, but we do know the AFL is still investigating.
A Ukrainian court has delayed the first appeal hearing of Russian soldier Vadim Shishmarin, who was sentenced to life in prison on war crimes charges in May. It comes after the soldier's lawyer failed to show up in court, citing health concerns. Shishmarin is the first and only Russian soldier to be convicted over crimes relating to his country's invasion of Ukraine. Californian fire crews might finally be winning the battle against a wildfire near Yosemite National Park after it ignited last Friday. Firefighters have now contained 10% of the blaze, which has so far destroyed nearly 17,000 acres and forced thousands to evacuate. A powerful sandstorm in China has caught cars in its path as a wall of thick dust engulfs the road. Tourists were trapped for hours, with visibility in some areas reduced to less than 200 metres. Ghislaine Maxwell has some new digs in Florida. The 60-year-old has been moved to a low-security federal prison to serve out her sentence. A far cry from the maximum security cell the 60-year-old has been living in since her arrest. Inmates at the facility in Florida can participate in yoga and watch movies. Ghislaine, the former partner of Jeffrey Epstein, was sentenced to 20 years behind bars earlier this year for sex trafficking. It was on the cards and now it's official. The UK will host next year's Eurovision Song Contest on behalf of war-torn Ukraine. Details from Europe correspondent Brett McLeod.
Ukraine was the popular winner of this year's contest and would normally then automatically be the host for next year. But of course, there's a war, and the organisers of Eurovision have decided because of Russia's invasion, it's simply too dangerous to try to organise the event in Ukraine for next year, which was much to Ukraine's disappointment. The runner-up in the contest was Britain, and it's been announced that Britain will host next year's Eurovision. Boris Johnson tweeting that the UK would put on a fantastic contest on behalf of our Ukrainian friends, adding he's been in talks with Volodymyr Zelensky. And because they were the leaders, the winners in this year's contest, Ukraine will automatically be guaranteed a spot in the grand final next year. So that is some level of compensation. And a number of cities already put their hands up saying they'd be interested in being hosts, including Glasgow, Manchester, Sheffield and London for Eurovision 2023.
A disastrous error is what the Pope has called Canada's church-run residential schools as he begs abuse victims for forgiveness. The Momented Bishop is robbed at gunpoint during a live stream of his Sunday morning sermon. And who would you name a fossil of the world's earliest animal predator after? There's only one person that comes to mind.
Download the 9 News app. Access all the news you'll ever need when you want it at your fingertips with the free 9 News app.
South Australians are waiting up to 7 years to see a specialist in public hospitals. New data shows the wait time for appointments for non-urgent medical care is as long as 84 months, with the top 5 longest wait times at Flinders Medical Centre. Hospitals are also under pressure after 134 people were left waiting in emergency departments yesterday, 75 of them unable to access a bed. I am deeply sorry. They're the words the Pope has used to apologise to Canada's Indigenous people after the Catholic Church forced hundreds of thousands of children to attend state-funded Christian schools. This report from senior US correspondent Amelia Adams.
Well, this is an historic pilgrimage for Pope Francis. He's calling it a journey of penance, apologising to Indigenous people across Canada for decades of cultural assimilation and abuse at church-run schools. For more than a century, from the 1880s to the 1990s, 150,000 Indigenous children were taken from their families and forced to attend these residential schools designed to assimilate them. Many suffered horrific physical and sexual abuse. Many still carry those wounds. And today they gathered at the site of a former school where the head of the Catholic Church delivered the words they've waited so long to hear.
I humbly beg forgiveness for the evil committed by so many Christians against the Indigenous peoples.
Some 4,000 children died from neglect or abuse over the years. Hundreds of unmarked graves were found on school grounds last year, and it's thought there are many more yet to be found. So it is a dark and tragic past which has affected Canada's Indigenous communities for generations. The Pope has now also called for an investigation, so it's hoped today will help begin the healing.
It is possibly the last place you'd expect to be robbed, but a bishop has been held up at gunpoint while giving an online sermon in Brooklyn. The live stream captures 2 hooded men entering the church, confronting the bishop before stealing several $100,000 worth of jewellery from him and his wife. Sport now, and Melbourne forward Ben Brown will spend another week on the sidelines with a lingering knee issue, but his coach Simon Goodwin is adamant he'll be back by round 21.
We're really confident we're on top of it. It's an ongoing thing that he's going to have for the rest of his career, and something we've had to manage for a long period of time now already with Ben. So it's just getting a little bit sore, a little bit more wear and tear within his knee. So we wanted to make sure we give us some time off, set him up the right way.
The D's play Fremantle on Friday night, with both teams battling to finish the home and away season inside the top 4. Bulldogs head of football Phil Gould has joined the chorus of influential NRL figures calling for the use of technology to be reduced, saying it's hampering referees and their ability to judge the game.
Our game is beholding to referee procedures. Our game is beholding to technology. There is so much really good football being played, but we keep pulling it up for pedantic investigations, with a magnifying glass to see if we can find something wrong with it.
The judiciary will hear 2 cases tonight, with Cronulla's Dale Finucane and Canterbury's Corey Waddell both fighting to play this weekend. Riders in the Tour de France Femme have battered early crosswinds and strong gusts on a crash-filled Stage 2 from Meux to Provence. Pre-race favourite Marta Cavalli had to be taken to hospital with head injuries after a nasty fall. Stage winner Marianne Vos excelled in the uphill sprint finish to claim the stage and claim the first yellow jersey of her distinguished career. Anastasia Palaszczuk is urging older Australians to be up to date with their vaccines before attending the ECA. The Premier warning those over 65 to avoid large crowds if they haven't had their boosters. The state could reach its peak of cases when the ECA begins next week. Well, it's not the sort of honour everyone would want, but for Sir David Attenborough, it couldn't get any better. Paleontologists have discovered a new fossil of the earliest known animal predator and have named it after the much-loved conservationist. The 560-million-year-old specimen was found in a forest near Leicester in England and is related to modern-day coral and jellyfish. Stay with us, we've got all of your weather details after the break. To your national weather now, and the fog should finally have cleared by now in Brisbane for a sunny day. A couple of showers in Sydney with some high winds set to develop. Showers will start to clear from Canberra. For a fine afternoon, wet and windy with a top of 12 forecast for Melbourne today. 15 the top in Hobart and in Adelaide. Showers will increase across Perth and a sunny day in Darwin. Tomorrow for Brisbane, a top of 19 degrees. Fine in Sydney. 15 the top in Canberra. Showers in Melbourne. Late rain for Hobart. Adelaide can expect some cloud cover. Showers in Perth and 32 in Darwin. And that is 9's Morning News. We'll have your afternoon bulletin at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in Adelaide and in Perth. For New South Wales and Queensland viewers, we will bring you a live press conference with the Manly Seagulls Club on that Pride jersey controversy shortly. I'm Lizzie Pearl. Thanks for your company. I'll see you soon.